Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest 2A propaganda. It is rare for government social media accounts to respond directly to individuals, doubly rare for the ATF, whose Twitter accounts are mercilessly trolled. Nevertheless, ATF Los Angeles responded to a post about NFA processing, and I don't think the intern is going to keep her job because somehow I get the feeling her superiors probably don't want the agency to publicly admit the NFA was intended from the start to be a prohibitive tax.
But Congress and the Supreme Court and the President, we gotta pay them, don't we?
Not with my money.
Not unlike a poll tax. When it was passed, that $200 tax was equivalent to $4,000 in today's dollars. If we can't require an ID to vote because some people can't come up with the $15 for a state ID, then how can they justify an inflation-adjusted $4,000? The dirty little secret about gun control is that it only applies to the underclasses. Rich people can have all the fast shooty boys they want. Simply pay an attorney to set up an SOT, keep a competent gunsmith on retainer, hire private security. You can have a team of men armed with anything you want, if you're Michael Bloomberg, which really speaks to the true purpose of gun control and the reason people like Bloomberg want us poors defenseless. But it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors, so let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by TNVC.com, your source for bespoke, artisanal, non-GMO night vision products expertly forged by Amish craftsmen in the heart of a dying star.
Hey friend, it's dark half the time on this planet. Unless you got magic powers or a mountain of carrots, you need TNVC to see at night.
And by Primary Weapon Systems. PWS is now offering their advanced BDE suppressors in 4 caliber options: 7.62, 9mm, 22, and 5.56. These suppressors offer revolutionary sound control, all while remaining lightweight and tough. Easy to clean, easy to install, easy to maintain, these suppressors will make shooting even better than it was before. New York's Public Housing Authority is in court defending its ban on handguns in public housing, and I gotta say, when you are tasked with defending something so absolutely indefensible, your arguments end up weirder than AI fingers. They resorted to arguing they're allowed to ban handguns because they also ban drug dealers and sex offenders. This is one of those things so insanely irrational that one struggles to even find a starting point to argue. Are they claiming that handgun owners are just as bad as sex offenders? I mean, maybe I'm overreacting, but it sure sounds as if they believe simply owning a handgun is morally repugnant and as dangerous for the community as actual felony convictions. What do you think? A sports ball player who almost got to play for the Red Sox recently got raided by the FBI, and they found a whole mess of no-no stuff, including a couple of ARs with obliterated serial numbers, a dozen or so short-barreled rifles, and a couple short-barrel shotguns. They also found lots of other guns and lowers, 2 Ghost Gunner CNC machines, some cash, and 8 silencers, but there's no indication any of those things were illegal. Why were the feds interested in him in the first place? Because he was a licensed dealer through 2022, and 57 of the guns he sold were recovered from crime scenes. Now, I want to say right up front that all gun laws are offensive to the Constitution, and it ought to be legal to manufacture whole-ass machine guns in your garage and sell them to strangers.
Believe it or not, jail right away.
If you don't want thugs buying guns, then I don't know, maybe stop letting them out of prison. But if you sell a bunch of guns to thugs and almost 60 of them are used in crimes, you shouldn't be surprised when the feds show up. And to be honest, this guy doesn't seem as though he was burdened with an overabundance of schooling, as he just laid over and admitted to the cops that he regularly sold SBRs to a middleman who turned around and sold them to someone else. Now remember, this is a man who had a federal firearms license, so he really ought to know better. One thing stood out to me though. One of the articles says the short-barreled ARs had 9 1/4 inch barrels, which is not exactly a standard barrel length. And that makes me wonder if the Phoebers were measuring wrong. And that brings me to thinking whether they were actually short barrel rifles or just pistols with braces. What do you folks think? Did the feds screw up? Did this guy even do anything wrong? Should it be illegal to make ARs at home and sell them to strangers? Comment below. Attorneys general from 20 states signed an open letter to Biden's gun control czar, Stephanie Feldman, asking her to investigate the sale of military-grade ammo to civilians through the Lake City ammo plant. The letter has no legal authority, of course, but it signals a desire on the part of the control freaks to choke off the supply of affordable 5.56, and they strongly imply civilians shouldn't even be allowed to buy 5.56. Will this kick off another wave of mouth breather panic buying? Well, probably. Should you participate in panic buying? No, you should not. You should buy a box or two of ammo every paycheck and a couple of cases once or twice a year when prices are good, like a sane person. Will this result in the Lake City ammo plant ending sales of surplus ammo to civilians? Maybe. I mean, I don't claim to be a soothsayer, but my guess is, honestly, nobody really cares about this enough to make a stink. And although Winchester makes a hell of a lot more off DoD contracts than they do from us proles, I don't think they're eager to give up that revenue stream either. What do you think? Is this the end of quality training and shit hits the fan ammo? The TSA is bragging about finding 6,700 firearms last year and 93% of them were loaded. Except, I'm not so sure it's something they should really gloat about. According to the most recent data I could find with a lazy Google search, Forbes says TSA missed fake weapons 70% of the time in training.
Let me do the math here.
So if I did my math right, that means the TSA missed about 21,000 loaded guns. Of course, these numbers could vary quite a lot due to any number of variables, but any way you slice it, the TSA misses more weapons than they find, and they found a lot of loaded guns, meaning a lot more loaded guns slipped through. So, if about 21,000 people boarded a plane with a loaded gun, and not one single person shot somebody, had an ND, or accidentally did a terrorism, doesn't that indicate that guns and gun owners are nowhere near as dangerous as the wine box mommies want us to believe? And now, for your moment of zen.
You know, I was out hunting today, come up on this old lake way back in the woods, and I saw an eagle all the way across it. See the lake. And I said, Lord, I sure would like to get close to that eagle, because sometimes I feel like you don't always hear me, but if you hear me today, let me get close. I had a bald eagle land on my shoulder. Out here hunting. I don't think you can get no closer than that right there. At all.
Hey friends, do you like pews and other pew-related things? Would you like to help us keep delivering you
Pure unto American pew, put
We literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsors, so do us a solid and get yourself something nice from them. You deserve it. I love you.